Here lies Kate Morgan, a young woman of just 24, who checked into the Hotel del Coronado and never checked out. Her story ended here in Mount Hope Cemetery. But her spirit, they say that lingers by the sea. Hello and welcome back to another vintage inspired video. It is my favorite time of year, and that is the Halloween season. Today we're standing at the Hotel del Coronado in San Diego, and it's a hotel not only famous for its architecture or notable clientele, it also happens to be considered one of the most haunted hotels in America. When it was built in 1888, it had the distinguished honor of being the world's largest resort hotel. Since then, presidents, royalty, and a who's who of old Hollywood have all passed through its doors. But it was in 1892, only 4 years after the Del opened, that it became the site for one of San Diego's most enduring ghost stories. Over the years, countless guests have reported strange happenings here. Lights and televisions that turn on and off with no explanation, the scent of perfume, and cold breezes that seem to come out of nowhere. And more than once, a ghostly figure in black is said to have been seen walking the beach. But before she became the most famous ghost of Coronado, she was a guest, a 24-year-old woman who arrived here alone, an oddity for that era, with only a small handbag on Thanksgiving Day, 1892, registering under the name Lottie A. Bernard of Detroit. 5 days later, she would be found dead. The stained glass right here is something Kate would have seen when she stayed here. It originally was featured in the hotel lobby. One way this hotel shows its age is with a little bit of wonkiness in some of the stairs, and also you can see right here on this balcony overlooking the lobby how crooked that is right there. Oh, was that Kate? That was weird, right? That the light did that? Do you think that was Kate? To the staff, Miss Lottie Bernard was ladylike and beautiful, but melancholy, and kept to herself mostly. She told the housekeeper who'd come to run her bath that she was ill with stomach cancer and the prognosis was hopeless. She shared she was waiting for her brother, who was a doctor, to arrive. Days passed, no letters came, no brother appeared, and her spirits sunk lower. When she arrived at the Del by way of Los Angeles, and before that, her home state of Iowa, she had already lost her parents at a young age, had a failed marriage that lasted 4 years and produced a child that died only after 2 days. Then she ended up eloping with her husband's stepmother's stepson, a scandal for the time, as you could imagine. From then until she appeared at the Del 2 years later, not a whole lot is known. You see how there's a path right there on the left side of the building and this vintage photo? I want you to remember that. By Sunday, the staff grew increasingly worried. She spent most of the day in her room. She did have staff come draw a bath for her, and she later told the bellboy she fell trying to get out and that she was too weak to stand. She asked him for a whiskey cocktail, and they kept trying to persuade her to see a doctor. She responded by saying she was opposed to calling a physician. The reported hauntings are not exclusive to the room in which she stayed. They have been reported throughout the hotel, including this gift shop. Employees say they have seen items fly off the shelves and oftentimes falling upright and remaining unbroken. Monday morning, she again asked if there was any word from her brother, and again she was told no. She boarded the train to San Diego to retrieve her luggage and took the opportunity to ask the conductor for the name of a hardware store. She made her way to 5th Street in downtown, where she walked into the Ship Chandlery store, and they informed her they don't sell guns, and said to go to Mr. Chick's gun store. There she purchased a .44 American Bulldog revolver, telling the clerk it was a Christmas present for a friend. On a stormy November evening, the only storm that took place that November of 1892, Kate stepped outside with the revolver that she recently purchased. And by morning, her lifeless body was found on the steps leading down to the beach with a gunshot wound to her head. The coroner ruled it a suicide, though to this day, some suspect foul play. And from my research, the best I can tell is those steps used to be right over here. This planter is about where the stairs would have been. Do you remember that picture I pointed out? The stairs were just about in line with the end of the building. In modern times, dredging has created this land we see here for the hotel, and the beach is now further in the distance. But when Kate was here, it would have come up to just about right here. Hotel staff last saw Kate alive between 7 and 8 p.m. when she went to the office to again check for letters or telegrams. None had arrived. When the electrician found her that morning, she was stiff and cold, suggesting that she had died hours before. Did you see that blue light in the haze right outside this door? That wasn't a filter, so take that however you'd like. Was it Kate? I don't know, but it was weird. This is the room she called her own. She stayed in what was room 302, later 3327 for years, but today it's changed again following a years-long renovation. Looking at past videos and digging deeper, it appears the room is now 33036. I mentioned she could be felt all over this hotel, but this room seems to have the most documented accounts. An employee was quoted as saying, "If you don't ask for her room, we don't assign it." But it's actually the most requested room to those who know her story. Police were not able to immediately identify her, and intrigue began to rise immediately due to the circumstances surrounding her death. The fact that she used an alias, was traveling alone, which was not very common for women at the time, and she had arrived without luggage. The press went wild with her story and dubbed her the beautiful stranger. She was taken to Johnson & Co. Undertakers, and crowds of curious onlookers, many of them women, lined up to see her body there. A telegram was sent to her ex-husband asking what to do with her body. Her grandfather replied, "Your telegram received regarding Kate Morgan, nee Farmer. Bury her and send me statement. J.W. Chandler." Adding he was surprised by the news and didn't believe it was a suicide. On December 13th, 1892, a funeral was held and attended by members of the public. Afterwards, Kate was laid to rest in an unmarked grave. Nearly a century later, an attorney named Alan May, who had researched her death and became obsessed with uncovering her story after he claimed to have seen her ghost while staying at the Dell, placed this headstone here, bearing her name, both names. Though to this day, the reason for that alias is not known. I'm curious how many of you have heard the name Kate Morgan and the story of the haunted Hotel del Coronado before today. I wasn't sure how far beyond locally her story has reached. I would guess those who are enthusiasts of ghost hunting and ghost stories have heard her name, but maybe if you're not as dialed into that, is this the first time you heard the name Kate Morgan? The truth is, not much is known about Kate Morgan's short life. Fragments of her story still survive: a broken marriage, lost love, failing health, and her final days spent alone in solitude. In the 133 years since her death, embellishments and rumors have colored the truth. In life, she may have lived in obscurity, but in death, she became immortal. But what do you think? Was her death a tragic suicide, or was something more sinister at play? And would you stay in the haunted Kate Morgan room at the Dell? I know I would. Until that next video, I am wishing you a super swell day and, of course, a happy Halloween.